All right, it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fashion Tech. My name is Anne, and I will be your host for today's panel. And I would like to begin by gratefully acknowledging that Science World is located on the traditional and unceded lands, as well as territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. So we will start today with a quick introduction from our amazing group of mentors, followed by a hosted discussion. So along the way, if you have any questions at all for the mentors, please feel free to put them in the chat at any time, and we will definitely get to your questions. Our technician today is Josh, who will be monitoring the chat. If you have any technical issues at all, they would be happy to assist you. We ask that you keep comments in the chat and question section respectful and relevant to the topics being discussed as well. All right. So I think it's time to meet our mentors right now. So Josh, can you please pull all of the mentors into the view, please? Yay! Hello, hello.
Hi.
So let's start by just going around and doing a brief introduction before we jump into the questions. So can I get each of you to let us know your name, your job title, and one thing that you love most about your career? Anyone can start.
Sure, yeah. Hi, my name's Capri. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I'm a co-founder and design director of my company called Made. We're doing custom outdoor gear. And I think my favorite thing is just being able to see people use our products the best, perform whatever sport that they're really into.
Me? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Bahar. I am a fashion designer. I graduated from Parsons School of Design. And I'm also a PhD candidate in electrical engineering at the University of British Columbia and a research assistant. Part of our work in our lab is focused on stretchable and flexible wearables and electronics that can be integrated into maybe like clothing and medical devices. And what I'm most excited about in my field, I guess, is learning. So there is so much to learn. And once we get even the slightest result from those learnings, it's an amazing feeling. So that's what I'm really into in my career.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so now we will open up for questions from the chat. So if you have any burning questions for our wonderful mentors, feel free to pop them in the chat now, or really anytime. And we will definitely get to your questions. But while we're waiting, I also have a few questions for you, my own questions. I'm really using this opportunity to like get as much information from mentors as possible for my own benefits. But first question is, how did you get started in your career? Anyone can start.
Capri, you want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah, I can. I guess, well, it depends how far back you want to go, but I first learned to sew when I was maybe 10 years old. My mom gave me a sewing machine and taught me how to make a top and a bottom, and I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. So I spent lots of time making clothes for myself and my little 5-year-old sister. I actually always was really into like making clothing and fashion and designing things. After high school, I did pursue a degree in biology. Ended up coming back to fashion. It was just something I really loved, the arts, and so did a big pivot and went back to get a degree at Kwantlen Polytechnic University here in Vancouver, and it just went from there. And it was probably the best decision I ever made because I couldn't do anything else, and I love it.
Me, I think I always had a passion for design. and I was born and raised in Iran, and my time was war and very little, I guess, exposure to any nice clothing or stores. Women are mostly covered in Iran, as you know, and around my time it was even worse. So what my exposure was basically maybe through traveling or TV, like, and that was also very limited. So I started drawing my little stores and displays of the stores with clothing matched with little, jewelries and hats and gloves. And things continued, however, again, because art and design can be a little bit risky, especially Iranian parents aren't the biggest fan of them. And I was also good with math and physics. So my parents really wanted me to do something that was more stable in my future. So they also encouraged me to do something more technical. So I did bachelor's. I started my bachelor's in physics. Later, I switched to electrical engineering in UBC. And then once I got my master's, I was like, look, I'm secure now. Anything happens in the world, I can take care of myself. The world is going to need an electrical or a computer engineer at some point. I'm going to New York. So I went to New York, did fashion design in ready-to-wear women's wear, and then I worked there for a good few years, decided that I'm going to move back to be close to family, and here the atmosphere was a little bit different for me. So I wasn't necessarily, very satisfied um, um, looking into the differences in Vancouver versus New York City. So went back to my lab, and my supervisor was like, why don't you come back to our lab now that, we're trying to mix these two fields. And you are a translator between these two different roles, because we always need people who understand fashion industry's language, and we need people who can translate what fashion needs into technology or technical labs. So I guess that's how I started the career or field of study, I would call it, that I am in right now. And ever since, well, it's been, a lot of debugging and still like being in contact with companies that have an expectation based on their user experiences, and us trying to understand them better, and also like, developing products that can maybe truly at some point be useful to people and those companies. So that's how I started, basically.
That's wonderful. I think that's definitely very insightful for me personally, because sometimes I feel very pressured to know exactly what I want to do next. And just hearing your story sort of reminds me that, we have time. We all have time. And it's really important for us to, sort of explore all the different fields, see what we like, find our passion, and then move on from there. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
All right. So I'll just drop in another gentle reminder that you can go ahead and drop your questions in the comment section if you have any, and we'll definitely get to your questions. We won't mind, I promise. Okay. Let me think of another question. I'm really utilizing all of this opportunities for my own benefit. Let's do a fun question. What's your favorite part about your job or your industry right now?
I mean, being a big outdoor lover, I just, my favorite thing is really just being able to create something and then go into my backyard and test it out and then get learnings from that and come back and just kind of keep doing that process and iterating and refining, an idea that I have. I think that's just, it's so satisfying when there's like something that you have in your head or a function or something you want to incorporate into your garments, and kind of see it becoming more and more and more efficient. I think that's kind of my favorite part. That's where the magic is for me, and then being able to share that with other people and have them use it as, whether it's, I don't know, maybe just like a certain pocket arrangement or something on the jacket, but that's really specific to, like, let's say, ice climbers. It's amazing to hear people's needs and how specific they are, and be able to incorporate this into like a tool that they can use for whatever sport they're doing. That's a good thing.
That's wonderful. What about you, Bahar?
Pretty close to what Capri was saying, actually. I think the creative process is a very wonderful process, and that's the amazing part of being in a creative field. And now I'm not necessarily at this point in fashion. My work actually right now is very technical. I'm working on batteries. But still, this is a creative process because I'm working with a chemistry that hasn't been figured out. And I'm one of the people that is trying to dig into this system, right? Can I optimize it? Can I ever figure out what's going on with this chemistry? I don't know. But like little by little, I think the learning from the zero that I started and where I am right now and where I may be in a year or a year and a half, I think that's the most exciting part of my career right now, and the freedom that I have because I'm in a university and in a lab. It's I can do, I can go and do whatever I feel like doing because I'm, trying to like figure something out, right? And it's a little different from work or a corporate, I would say, environment. And for me personally, I think it's a better environment to be at because, again, you start from nothing and then maybe you end up with a working product, and that's really joyful, I guess, experience.
Oh, I love that so much. Just being able to know that your job and your work is being appreciated, and your work or your product is useful, and it's meeting the needs of people. It
Exactly.
definitely is very warming. Awesome. I'm sure a lot of our viewers here are also wondering about the same thing. But what kind of advice, or what advice would you give to like a middle schooler or a high schooler who is interested in your line of work? What kind of advice would you give them?
Trying to think back of how I felt at that age, maybe. Um, I think, I mean, what something that really worked for me was just really trying a lot of things, because there's so many different positions you can have in the industry. And I think that's what a lot of people don't maybe know. They think, okay, you go to design school to become a designer, but there's so many aspects. You can be a product developer or work on materials or, work in more technical aspects. Um, just kind of go out and try lots of different industries, just to see what you like and what you don't like, what works for you and what doesn't. Um, and maybe something I wish someone told me was just to really trust in the process and trust that, in your skill, and that you have passion for this, and um, just work really hard, really.
I would say if you're interested in fashion industry, do your due diligence. Do a very hard research on it and try to, uh, make friends. And I know you guys are young. Go with your parents for a coffee with someone who is in the field, maybe, and learn what they truly are doing and what's going on in the industry. The perception of a lot of people from fashion industry is the glamorous look of it in TV and red carpet. The reality of fashion industry is from what we design for, maybe like as Capri was saying, like ice and hike and skiing all the way to couture and haute couture and red carpets to Zara to natural disasters. How are we going to help people when those things happen? So these all translate into fashion industry. And I think it will be very helpful if you do your research first before joining the industry. It's a very, very tough industry. It requires a lot of work a lot of commitment and a lot of competition, because it's also a very creative process. So you have to be very honest with yourself when you're entering this industry, that design is not necessarily 2 plus 2 is 4, and developing a concept can be sometimes hard. So that's one advice: research as much as you can. And my second advice, I guess, to enter fashion industry will be, if you enter this industry or any other industry, or maybe like fashion tech, which I think will be a big part of future of the fashion when you guys are going to enter these type of fields, do a lot of deep work and try to learn as much as you can, and try to, again, during your work, do as much analytical work that you can, instead of what we call a shallow work or the quantity. So a high quality work and stepping out of the box, I think, will help someone who's interested to enter the fashion industry, is going to help them a lot. And that's what I guess I've learned throughout the years of my work. And I've seen, in colleagues that have been successful and colleagues that may have dropped out, or couldn't, necessarily be what they wanted to be in the industry. It was a very clear line of quality and commitment versus those who really didn't have the idea of what's going on, or they entered the industry and it was different from being a good shopper. That's another I guess perspective that we have. If I can shop well and dress well, I'm going to be a good designer. And those people also, had problem then adapting to the needs of the industry. So research and quality of work that you can, improve are really important, I guess, to enter this industry.
That's really insightful. I have never thought of that before. Fashion is such it's one of those industries that's scientific, social, as well as needs a lot of creativity and innovation as well. I've never thought of it that way. Thank you so much. And yeah, definitely doing your research, knowing what you're getting yourself into, I'm just in awe because these are all very new information and they're all very helpful.
And it's very hard, honestly, because accessibility a lot of the times is through social media nowadays, right? And those channels are amazing, but a lot of the reality isn't being shown actually in social media. So finding those real channels, maybe even doing internship in some of these companies, kind of like opens teenagers and younger generation eyes to what this industry is about really, and where we are lacking in this industry. Because I think this is a generation that now has to enter and solve those problems rather than letting it continue the way it is.
Thank you so much for that. Just because we're in this, oh my gosh, my English is like out the window. Sorry. Just because we're in the topic of, doing your research and all of that, what are some of the best resources, or what are some of the resources that you suggest people, tap into if they want to dive deeper into this industry or this career?
I would say it just depends where you're kind of looking to go. I mean, the university is obviously a very good resource. I know that for Portland Polytechnic University anyway, they would be happy to give you more information. The teachers are there are amazing. Like Bahar was saying, taking people out for coffee in the industry that and just kind of picking their brain about things and getting information on their day to day, and where their challenges are, and what they love about their job is just getting maybe a more realistic view of what each of these different positions do. I think that's been a huge thing for me too, is just finding help for people. And I think you can definitely research online. I've taken on a few internships in the past too, and learned a ton that way. Maybe just even working for a month or two and helping someone else or shadowing someone if you can, if someone's available to do that for you. That's been really helpful too. Yeah, and always here to answer questions myself if anyone needs any help with anything.
I totally agree with Capri. I guess these are the best ways of getting some information. Of course, schooling as a designer or anyone who enters the fashion industry is extremely helpful. It actually opens your eyes to the industry very immediately, and that's a good, I guess, few years of knowing if you're going to love this industry or dislike it, and then you can, change your field if you are not so passionate about it, and then you'll get to know other careers in fashion because you don't have to necessarily become a designer. There's so many amazing opportunities in the industry. Online resources and also some courses. I am not sure about Vancouver, but for example, there was a course between Teen Vogue and Parsons where teenagers would take a few weeks, I guess, or a couple of months of training of building a portfolio. And I was actually one of the reviewers of those portfolios. So we would, give feedback to the student at the end of the course of, are you going to pass? Is your portfolio brief enough but to the point and well put together and balanced? Or do you have to work on your portfolio more? And I find actually courses like that very helpful because, again, the course would provide, other resources and get students to familiarize themselves with, say, news channels like Women's Wear Daily or Business of Fashion, like websites that they can go and just like, briefly read about what's happening in the industry. Would provide materials for the course, and then at the end of the day, the student will, graduate with like a mini portfolio and get an idea of, what's expected and how, we communicate with them. So there may be some of these courses, and a lot of them are online. So you can look into, schools in Canada, in the US, in Europe, and maybe, even take some of those summer courses, and that can be very helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of those resources. I think, yeah, I definitely, I never thought about, I guess I should have. I'm an undergraduate. I'm in like my upper years and I'm still learning so much. But this is, again, oh, sorry. Before I ask my next question, I get so excited because I have so many questions. But for our viewers, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to your questions definitely.
There are a few questions already in the chat right now, in the comment section.
Oh, so sorry. I didn't realize that there were questions. Okay. I will ask Zana Snetsbit. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. But they ask, where did you find the most difficulty during your career?
There's I don't know, there's lots of them, I think, from my side. What's the most difficulty? I think some of the difficult things were, kind of just getting into the industry because it is very competitive, and I think like being able to network with different people to, get your foot in the door and just, keep going and making a good impression. And it's just, it's just a process that takes time and a lot of hard work. And I think if you do really good work, and like Har was saying, I really like how you say when you're digging deep to do good work, keep asking yourself like, why this decision? And if you have, many layers to your designs and your thought process, it will really show in your work. And I think people will really notice that. So I think it's just building up the contacts, and over time, it takes time. You can't rush it, and you kind of can't jump in right away and just expect to, be at the top. There's lots of skills to learn. I think, trying to like gain lots of different skills in the industry that kind of, you know, if your goal is to become a designer, that's what you want your job to be. There's, you know, so many other skills that are so useful to collect on the way, whether it's hard skills or soft skills. Like for myself, pattern making and construction, and sort of material science, just learning as much as I can in all of these areas really helps all my decisions today as a designer, because I know how my decisions will impact, you know, product development and manufacturing and everything along down the line. So yeah, I think maybe just you know, it's going to be a lot of hard work and it's going to take time, but if you just kind of keep going, you'll get there to where your goals are, I think.
For me, I guess the hardest part was when I realized not always the process is the super creative process that I had in my mind as a student. So each company that you go to has a target, and the designer's work really is to understand that target. That means who is the customer, and we gotta make friends with that customer in our minds, and that customer had to become my best friend every day in my life, so that I could design and provide what was needed for that customer. And even though we were best friends, and if I say I think this is a great product, there is a bigger team in the company that would be like, well, this is doable or not doable because of certain restrictions and limitations that each company has, and based on different analytics in every company. So for me, that was something that actually was not necessarily what I was looking forward to, working in the industry. And then now I understand why. But again, as a student, we have maybe like some perspective and what we call misconception of the industry. So I think that was adapting myself to really meeting the needs of each customer based on segmentation of a company was maybe like the hardest part. And I've changed many companies, so you can imagine I had to be very adaptable at some point to be able to like work with all these different concepts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, definitely, being in fashion requires much more hard work than we usually think it does. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
A lot more than what a lot of people would imagine. Finance in New York City equates to how much work a fashion designer has to do in their company. And I'm not joking you. It's early in the morning. The earliest people going to offices are fashion people and factories. The people who leave at like the latest time possible to go home are again like people in fashion industry. A very competitive, very fast paced, and a very hard field. But if you're enjoying it, those are the best years of your life.
I see. Wow. Thank you so much for that. All right. Our next question comes from Natalia. Natalia said that they got 2 job offers and their dream job is always, to be a fashion designer. Now they have 2 job offers and they don't know what to do. Do you have any advice as to how they should navigate their way through the situation?
I'm just wondering if the 2 job offers are in the fashion industry, or if it's 2 different separate industries.
That's a very good question. Natalia, do you want to answer that question in the chat? I'm not sure if they're still here, but their next question, this is the same person. Their next question is, which fashion industry is best for selling clothes? New York or the other one? Unsure what the other one is.
Yeah, I might have a follow-up question about the other one.
I think for designing, right, and production, of course, New York is one of those cities that is the center. It is full of talent and full of facilities, right? Versus a lot of the other cities. It's an amazing city. At the same time, the good, definition of New York is like it's a big, pool with a lot of fish there. And in Vancouver, you can be, the only fish or the unique fish in a smaller sea. So there are differences, but selling is a different point. Like where is better for selling? Well, it really depends on the product and again, customer segmentation. In each city, of course, like selling, is based on the city's need and the people and, how much they can afford for each product or lifestyle. But again, for a new designer, yes, maybe a city like New York City or London are more of, I guess, are easier for production, but also maybe a little bit easier to sell a product because those boutiques and a lot of people who are very artsy and care about new products or boutiques or creative stuff are there or visit those type of cities a lot. So I would say yes, great opportunity there, but still you can work it out in Vancouver as Lululemon has done, as Aritzia has done, as a lot of the other brands have done it, and as Capri is doing it right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it really just depends on what your target market is, and maybe a high fashion product, of course, is going to sell really well in New York, but there may not be as much interest in Vancouver, where everyone's focused on skiing and hiking all the time. Where maybe that product, more outdoor focused, is going to sell better to the users here than in New York. So I think it just depends what kind of garments you want to design, and find where's your audience. That could be anywhere in the world, really. But yeah, I mean, New York is amazing for fashion and so inspiring. I think like it's definitely a good place to go. I can't wait to go back. Awesome there.
Okay, I think Anne has technical difficulties, so we are going to run the meeting for now.
Sounds good.
What are the other ways in finding jobs in fashion industry? Capri, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's see. How did I mean, I think I found my first job through another student or colleague that I had kind of got me a job where I was working, and I mean, I think you can definitely just all the traditional ways. Connections, I would say, has been some of the best ways I've, found jobs, whether it's contract things or full-time positions. But yeah, I think if you know anyone that knows anyone, but I've definitely found jobs just from searching on job sites, and through the university would send out some postings, pretty often. People do after graduation. Actually, something we just went through or are hoping to do is to apply for some grants for recent graduates. So I think there is, I'll try and post that on the government website. There's some job sites that you can look up, and their placements for either internships, or if you're a recent graduate, to find different jobs that companies have applied for. Those are really great, sort of entry level positions.
Hello, everyone. So sorry, Anne has just lost connection to her internet, so I'm going to jump in here for a few minutes. So, Capri, you were talking. I just wanted to say hi, that I'm here. I'm here to help. But if you want to finish your story, I will just hang out.
Oh yeah, no, I think we're just talking about different ways to find jobs in the industry.
Oh, cool. Yeah, did you talk about how both of you found your jobs in the industry already?
Sorry, how we worked in the industry?
How you both found, I'm just going to take my mask off first. How both of you found your jobs in the industry.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I found at least my first job through internships that I did as an undergrad, and that was a part of are actually degree that we had to do some internships and get credit for those internships. So we had to take them very seriously. I landed my internships, and most of us in bigger companies and corporates, and if you're good through those internships, you'll get an offer from those type of companies. But here there may be a little bit again more limitations because we have less number of companies in Vancouver. Still, send them an email. There may be someone who answers you a LinkedIn message. Out of 3 people, 1 person will answer you or add you back. And something that I learned actually at school, one of my instructors was like, if you guys really want an internship or a job, go in with a handwritten, cover letter and maybe a small portfolio and just, gift it to the company. And it's hard because you have to go knock at many doors and they're like, what are you talking about, right? Or you have to mail it 10 times and hope somebody's going to open that amazing mail and be like, wow, this work is amazing. So there are ways. And I actually got an offer from Marquesa. I don't know if anybody knows that brand. It's a couture brand in New York. And that was only me just, hand delivering some of my drawings to that company. So I would say, if you really want to get an internship or a job, these are ways. This is a very interactive industry, and sometimes you have to show your work somehow. So make sure you contact people, send them maybe a couple of samples of your work, and hopefully you'll hear back. And then also their job postings. So those could be, as Capri was mentioning, also an alley to, find your first job. And after that, if you do that deep work, I promise you, word of mouth is going to get you to places that you wouldn't have imagined.
Wow, that is so amazing. Anna's back now, so I'm gonna pop out. But thank you so much for letting me
Thank you.
a little snippet. I can't wait to watch the rest later. Bye.
Thanks, Madeline.
Bye.
So sorry about that. My internet has dropped. I'm sitting right next to my router, so hopefully it won't happen again. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna go down the list. I know we only have 3 minutes left, but we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. So one of the questions that we have in the comment section is, what college or university courses are needed to start your own fashion line or be a part of the fashion industry? And what are the requirements for this career or path?
I think it depends, I guess, which city you're in or where you want to pursue your education. I'm from Vancouver, and I wanted to work in the outdoor industry, and this was sort of the right place for me. And they had a bachelor's degree of fashion design and technology. I think maybe the entire course in itself, maybe not any specific classes, kind of was like the key to entering the industry, especially like I was saying, there was a work placement in the 3rd year where we did an internship with a company. That was a great way to meet people and sort of meet people in the industry. For this program, the requirements were to have, there was there's a certain few courses. You can definitely look on the website to see English requirements and from high school courses, as well as a portfolio. So this was it was a portfolio built with a certain amount of different requirements. There was some garments you need to make, some sort of art pieces, and a couple of essays that you had to write as well. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there was maybe one specific course that helped. I think it was kind of the entire program. And I would say if you're starting your own fashion line as well, taking a few business courses too is really helpful. That's something that's I'm working on now, is the business side of everything, especially if you're starting up new and like limited resources. Kind of having some experience with just like finances and and maybe marketing definitely really helps if you're building a business from scratch, I think.
Yeah, I guess on my side, um, almost the same as what Corby mentioned. Any school you go to, well, depending on the degree, because there are diplomas and there's a bachelor's degree, and then you can take it, further doing a master's or even a PhD in fashion industry, depending on what is your interest. But really, the courses are going to be from very basic, at least where I studied art. So we had to be very good with drawing because we were taking classes with art students. So our first year, it was what it was called the foundation year, which I believe now has changed. But we were all in the same class with architecture, with those who would go to drawing, fashion, and then it was a year of giving the student opportunity to really decide which field they want to go to. And on that year, you really work on your I guess vision and ability to build 1D, 2D, and 3D models of a product. And then you will what will be the same as most of the schools then will be you will be taking courses that are concept development. So you understand how to come up with a story and what we call a narrative in the industry, because every line, every runway that you look at, if you go and read about it, you'll find out what the story is behind, all this maybe like amazing garments of that year that are, walking on the runway. And then there will be construction, cut, sew, pattern making, understanding fabrics, colors, color combinations. These are all like theories and studio-based courses that you will be taking. And then some maybe like depending again on the core on the degree requirements, there could be also like we actually had marketing and some like basic business courses for those who were interested to like go and maybe like develop on their skills later with more advanced courses. So if you wanna start your own maybe like independent career, definitely taking some of those courses in parallel with maybe working a little bit in the industry itself, because building connections will be the network that you're going to have if you want to start a business in the industry. So
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
we
I
missed one
am sure.
question, and there was a question between that says, how many jobs have you had in the industry? So I thought,
Oh yeah, sure. We can answer that question right now too. How many jobs have you had in the fashion industry?
I don't know how to count them really. I think I've had so many different, I've explored so many different things. I mean, like I was saying, I wanted to explore so many different avenues to see like what I liked and what I didn't like. I worked in film for a little bit, helping with costume design. Did some films there, but yes, definitely very long hours for that. And I think I decided against it just because I really liked the more commercial product part of fashion design, I think, than the costuming, but still very interesting. Had a good time. I've done some like contract work, design assistant work, and pattern making, creating, design development, and design. So I don't know how many jobs that is. Maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. But yeah, and I guess now I'm a business manager, so maybe 8.
No, I'm sure you just have to work so hard to get all those jobs. And yeah, I'm always so inspired by just all of our inspiring female figures, I guess, that we have in Girls in STEAM. I'm sure everything that you've said so far has been very, very helpful for all of our viewers. I know for me personally, it's been very helpful to me. And a lot of the things that we've talked about are definitely transferable to other industries as well, not just the fashion industry. Awesome. Okay, it looks like we are at time here. We would like to thank you all for joining us today, and a huge thanks to our wonderful mentors as well for sharing their time and their experiences with us. And all of our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all of your questions. Remember that we have more sessions happening on Thursday and Saturday, so be sure to plan what sessions you want to attend. See you all next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a
Thank you
great
so
evening.
much.